In this video, we'll be working through the first 4 part writing problems in assignment 5-4, which is concerned with writing authentic cadences. You'll remember that authentic cadences are cadences that go from the dominant triad to the tonic triad, either in a major key or a minor key. And also, we only have to write the inner voices here in this exercise, the alto and the tenor. The soprano and bass have been provided for us. I'll be pointing out 2 part writing procedures as I go. One part writing procedure involves maintaining a common tone between the 2 chords and moving the other 2 by step. And then the second part writing procedure involves moving the 3 upper voices in similar motion to the next chord tone. In each case, I'll show you which procedure I'm using. So this first example is in the key of D major. They've labeled that for us. They've even told us that this A that's in the bass is the root of the dominant chord, and this D that's in the bass is the root of the tonic chord. So we already know that we're going to be writing 2 chords. One is spelled, one is spelled A, C sharp, E. That's our dominant chord, and one is spelled D, F sharp, A. That's our tonic chord. So remember, we need 2 roots. We got to double the root in each chord and make sure we have voices in good range and not overlapping one another, and never more than an octave between 2 adjacent voice parts, except for the bass, which is the exception. So in this first chord, I'm going to go ahead and I notice there's actually a typo. This should not be an F sharp. This should be an E. So let me fix that. Okay, and now that I've fixed the typo, because F sharp isn't even part of the dominant chord, it needs to be E. We're going to double the tenor and the bass. That's our 2 A's, and then we're going to give the C sharp to the alto. And now we've got 2 roots, a third, and a fifth. Now, which procedure should we use? Well, let's try the first procedure I described, and that is to maintain the common tone. Well, the common tone is the note that is the same between both triads. The dominant is spelled A, C sharp, E. The tonic is spelled D, F sharp, A. Well, notice A is in both triads. That common tone is A. So I'm going to maintain the A, or keep the A and the tenor on the same note. So the tenor doesn't move at all. It stays on the common tone. But the other 2 voices are going to move in similar motion by step. So the alto moves from C sharp up to D. And it turns out now that my second chord is voiced beautifully. I have exactly what I need. I have 2 roots, right? There's a D and there's a D. I have a third, there's an F sharp, and I have a fifth, there's an A. So here I used procedure number 1, where I maintain the common tone and move the other 2 voices similar direction by step. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Number 2, with 3 sharps, is going to be the key of A major. It turns out our bass line, which moves from A up to E, suggests that this is the tonic to the dominant. So it's actually going to be a half cadence, going from tonic to dominant, ending on a dominant. Alrighty, so let's, in our mind's eye at least, imagine our tonic chord is A, C sharp, E. I'm writing these out. You don't really need to if you can imagine it in your head. And then our dominant chord is E, G sharp, and B. And remember, we need 2 of each of the roots. All right, so I'm going to give the tenor an A and give the alto an E. And can we use the maintain the common tone? Well, let's try it. The common tone between the tonic chord and the dominant chord is the note E, right? We have an E here as the 5th of the tonic chord, and we have E as the root of the dominant chord. So let's keep our E the same. So I'll have the E in the alto. And then what's left is we need a G sharp. Right? That's the only note not represented. And it turns out then that it's our soprano and our tenor. Those are the 2 remaining voices that move similar motion by step. So in the last example, I didn't point this out, but last example we had an authentic cadence. One thing to check is, was it a perfect authentic or was it an imperfect authentic? Well, we did have the root here, and we did have the root here, but we did not have the root up here. So this would have been an imperfect authentic. In number 2, we just say it's a half cadence because it ends on the dominant. And we'll keep an eye on that with number 3. All right, number 3, we have 5 flats. This is the key of D flat major, and we have an A flat here, so that is the 5th scale degree or the dominant, and we have a D flat here, that's the root, so it's a tonic chord. And if you need to, spell it out in your mind's eye. The dominant is spelled A flat, C, E flat, and the tonic is spelled D flat, F, A. And when I part write this, I'm going to go ahead and I already got my doubling taken care of because I have A flat in both the bass and the soprano already. So all I need is a C and an E flat, a 3rd and a 5th. Let's give the C to the tenor and the E flat to the alto. And when I go to the next chord tone, or the next chord, I'm sorry, what I'm going to do is, I already have my common tone in the soprano, right? The A flat is the one note that's in both chords. That's supposed to be an A flat there. Yeah. So A flat is my common tone, and it's already maintained here. So I'm going to move the other two by step, the alto up to an F, and the tenor up to a D flat. So far we've only used procedure number 1, and that is going to be a very common procedure where you maintain a common tone and you move the other two by step. What kind of cadence is this? Well, it's definitely from 5 to 1, so that makes it an authentic cadence. And if I look at my root in the dominant, root in the tonic, but 5th in the soprano, this is going to be an imperfect authentic. Because remember, we need to have root, root, root. And it's this one, it is not the root. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is 3 sharps, so that's going to be the key of A major. And we have an E here and an A here, so that's the dominant to the tonic. And again, in your mind's eye, you might want to think of the notes that you're trying to include in the chord. So the dominant chord is E, G sharp, B, and the tonic chord is A, C sharp, E. All right, so let's go ahead and voice it. The dominant, I think I'm going to put my alto here on a G sharp, and my tenor, I need another E. So there's the two roots are in the tenor and the bass, and then the 3rd is in the alto, and the 5th is in the soprano. And I did that so that I could show you the other part writing procedure where you have the 3 upper voices, right? The soprano, the alto, and the tenor, all move similar motion to the next available chord tone. Well, our soprano is already moving down, so that means our alto is going to move down and our tenor is going to move down. That's the similar motion. So if I move the alto down to the next available chord tone, so of the 3 notes in the chord, A, C sharp, E, it's E that is the next available one. And then of the 3 chord tones, A, C sharp, E, it's C sharp that is the next available chord tone for the tenor. So this is another way of voicing an authentic cadence from dominant to tonic, or really any chords that have a 4th or 5th distance in the bass. So what kind of cadence is it? Well, we have our root here, we have our root here, and we have a root here. So this turns out to be a perfect authentic cadence.